The PlayStation 1 is a game system that really helped kind of define it at the 90s. I mean, so did the N64, but the PlayStation is a game series, system that in a way helped define the 90s. Whether it was also the games that you would have, and the use of graphics. Today, we're going to talk about what made the PlayStation awesome and peak 90s. When it comes to gaming, you're either a Sony fan, Xbox, Nintendo, or perhaps you're into PC gaming. However, today, we're looking back at the 90s with the first PlayStation, with its history and the games that defined it. Let's do a bit of a history lesson with how the system came to be, with some dates such as that it was released in multiple countries: Japan on December 3rd, 1994 in North America, on September 9th, 1995 in Europe, on September 29th, 1995, and in Australia on November 15th, 1995. So now let's look at the basics to how the system saw the light of day, and we'll have to look back at its development. See, when it was being made, Nintendo had reached out to Sony to help them develop a CD-based peripheral for the Super Nintendo, which didn't really happen, but led to the creation of the Philips CDI, because Nintendo decided to work with Philips instead. And it helped give us this little beauty.
Link, and I will make your face the greatest in Korodai, or else you will die. No! Not into the pit! It burns!
The system would implement the use of 3D based graphics instead of 16-bit graphics, and would have a price tag of $299. Now, let's talk about some games that were a huge selling point for the system that were a huge selling point for the system, because there are quite a lot of them. When one thinks of the action spy genre for video games that defined a system for the 5th generation, your mind might go to games such as GoldenEye, but for the PlayStation 1, you will most definitely always think of Metal Gear Solid, which was directed, produced, and written by Hideo Kojima, and released on September 3rd, 1998. Solid Snake was the great assassin that would influence the genre from his many lines to the gameplay.
The critics agree Metal Gear Solid is an absolute masterpiece. Games just don't look any better than this. The best reason yet to own a PlayStation.
The survival horror genre is a genre that is still going on strong today. But we're going to spotlight 2 games that were exclusive to the system. Resident Evil was the game that in a way made you scared, paranoid, but at the same time excited to go into the corner. even if the tank controls were annoying. The game was directed by Shinji Mikami, and first developed for the Super Nintendo, but eventually changed to the PlayStation 1 and was released on March the 22nd, 1996. The second horror game that you think of when it comes to PlayStation is Silent Hill, which is a psychological horror game involving a father going to rescue his daughter in Silent Hill. The game helped spawn multiple games and was released in North America in September 23rd, 1999, Japan in March the 4th, 1999, and Europe in July 18th, 1999. So now let's move away from the dark stuff and look at the more lighthearted stuff. In this case, let's look at a purple dragon, and a bandicoot. Spyro the Dragon is a 1998 platform game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation. And the game character was voiced by Tom Kenny.
You gotta believe!
About a plucky young dragon whose mission is to save the dragon elders from nasty Norg. Honestly, I gotta say this game is still fun. Most of the Spyro games are fun to go back to. I mean, heck, the Reunited trilogy proves that. And now let's look at Crash Bandicoot, which was a platformer about a bandicoot that is genetically enhanced by a scientist to save his girlfriend by the evil Dr. Neo Cortex. The gameplay was different from most platformers in that the game would implement both a third-person perspective and a side-scrolling moments.
Hey, plumber boy, mustache man, your worst nightmare has arrived.
Pack up your stuff. I got a little surprise for you here.
Check it out. What do you think about that? We got real-time, 3D, lush organic environments. How's that make you feel, buddy?
Feel a little like your days are numbered?
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
You're hurting my elbow.
Honestly, looking back, I gotta say, the Crash Bandicoot series is still a fun game series to check out. I mean, heck, the game got a revival for modern systems, so yeah, the game still holds up. So now, we've looked at stealth games, horror games, and some light-hearted games. Now, let's look at a game that made fans turn to the JRPG genre. Final Fantasy VII is a game that, although has had a remake as well, it's still a game worth going back to. The game was also originally developed for the NES, but changed over to the PlayStation. The story involved Cloud Strife stopping eco-terrorists and the superhuman villain Sephiroth.
Beyond the edge of reality lies a story of ultimate conquest, a story of war and friendship, a story of a love that can never be, and a hatred that always was. And now, the most anticipated epic adventure of the year will never come to a theater near you. Final Fantasy VII.
This game helped in a way, change, say, okay. The game series was prevalent on the Super Nintendo as well, but it helped, change, say, hey, what you could do when it comes to, say, the genre. And heck, when you think about it, look, the game has 3 discs. 3 discs! I mean, Parasite Eve does this too. But unfortunately, we don't see many people talking about Parasite Eve. Nor do we have many people talking about some, like, say, like Dino Crisis, which is another game I would love to have a remake of. But what is your thoughts on the PlayStation? Do you, like, love it still, or has it not been a game, like, a system that you have really looked back at with, like, say, how games are today? I mean, then again, without the PlayStation, we really wouldn't have, like, say, like, games that we love, whether it's, say, God of War, the upcoming Spider-Man. I mean, you would have the games, but they really weren't. They would be on some other system, I feel like. But I'll see you later.